This question says, following figures consist of rows and columns of squares. The figures form a continuing pattern. It says figure 1 has 2 rows and 1 column. So 2 rows this way, 1 column this way. I'm just going to write this on here. So this way is column, this way is row. Alright, and then this one's got 2 columns, 3 rows, 3 columns, 4 rows, 4 columns, 5 rows. It says figure 5 has P rows and Q columns. So P is going to go this way, so it's gone 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, so the next one would be 6. And Q is the number of columns, so it's gone 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, so the next one would be 5. Alright. So then it says, each small square has an area of 1 centimetre squared. Let AN be the total area of the figure N. The following table gives the first values of AN. So we can see when N is 1, the area is 2. And then when N is 2, the area is 6. So that's just the area of these patterns here. So we see here, number 1 has got 2 squares, number 2 has got 6 squares, number 3 has got 12 squares. So that's what it's telling us here. 2, then 6, then 12. Number 4 has got 20 squares, and then number 5 has got k squares. And we've got to work out the value of k. So you can see fairly obviously that this one is 2. To work out the area here, you would do 1 multiplied by 2. To work out this one, you would do 2 multiplied by 3. This one would be 3 multiplied by 4. This would be 4 multiplied by 5. So this one here, k will equal 5 multiplied by 6. Which equals 30. Then it says find an expression for AN in terms of n. So what we need to do here is be able to work out this from the number n. So we need to put in 1 and get 2, we need to put in 2 and get 6, put in 3 and get 12, and so on. Now the way to work this out is to come back here, and you can see that the number of columns, here is 1, here is 2, here is 3, here is 4, is the same as n. So the number of columns is equal to n. And then you can see the number of rows here. Here is 2, here is 3, here is 4, here is 5. It is just the number n plus 1. So the row is n plus 1. So therefore, the area is equal to, in the same way as we did here, we did the number of rows multiplied by the number of columns. 5 times 6 is 30. The area is going to be the number of rows, which is n, and then the number of columns, which is n plus 1, and multiplied together. Now you could leave it like that. If you want to, you can write it as n squared plus n. If you want, we can do a test, so we can try this with n is 4, and we should get the answer of 20. So if we did 4 squared, that would give us 16, and then plus another 4 would give us 20. So we can see that we have that correct. This question says, let f prime of x equal 3x squared over x cubed plus 1 to the power of 5. And then it says, given that f of 0 is 1, find f of x. Alright, so the secret to working out this one is identifying the form of this differential here. So what you need to realise is that when you differentiate this part of the bottom, you're going to get the top. So you need to recognise that f prime of x is in the form of u to the power of 5, and on the top is u prime. So when you differentiate this one, you'll get this one. So that means that from the chain rule, if you think about the chain rule, it's going to be when you differentiate one part and then you multiply by the differential of it. So f prime of x is of this form, where the top is the differential of part of the bottom. So that means that f of x is going to be something to do with u to the power of minus 4. Because when we differentiate this, we would get, so that would mean that f prime of x would be minus 4 u to the minus 5 times u prime. Like that. So f of x is in some way connected to this one. If I differentiate that, I'm going to get minus 4 u to the minus 5 u prime, which is basically this, with just an additional minus 4. So that means that my true value of f of x, this is going to be like a test. So then the actual answer is that f of x is going to be no, not that, it's going to be x cubed plus 1 to the power of minus 4, and then divided by minus 4. Alright, because then when you differentiate this, you're going to get minus 4 here from this one, which will cancel out with this one, and then you would have to multiply by the u prime, which would give us this 3x squared there, and it would also then be plus c. Alright, what we need to do next is to substitute in the value of 0 to work out what the constant is here. So we know that f of 0 is equal to 1, so that means that 1 is going to equal 0 plus 1 to the power of negative 4 divided by negative 4 plus c. So this is going to give us minus 1. So 1 to any power is 1, so it's going to give me, 1 is going to equal 1 minus 1/4 plus c. So that means that c is going to be 5 over 4. Just add this to both sides, and I would therefore have my final answer, f of x is equal to x cubed plus 1 to the power of minus 4, I'll just write the minus there, over 4 plus 5 over 4, like so. This question says the values of the functions f and g and their derivatives x equals 1 and x equals 8 are shown in the following table. And we've got our table here, and you can see the values. So firstly it says let h of x equal f of x times g of x. So this is a product. H of x is equal to f of x multiplied by g of x. Part A says find h of 1. So for part A, h of 1 is just going to equal f of 1 multiplied by g of 1. So we can see f of 1 is 2, and then multiplied by, we can see g of 1 is 9. So that's going to equal 18. So part B. This one says find h prime of 8. Now we know that h of x is equal to f of x g of x. Alright, now when we differentiate this to work out h prime, we would have to use the product rule, because this is a product, f of x multiplied by g of x. So we need to realise that h prime of x is going to equal f prime of x multiplied by g of x, and then plus g prime of x multiplied by f of x. So therefore that's going to be f prime of 8 multiplied by g of 8 plus g prime of 8 multiplied by f of 8 for h prime of 8. Now we can say that h prime of 8 therefore is going to be f prime of 8 is minus 3 multiplied by g of 8. G of 8 is 2, and then plus g prime of 8, which is going to be 5, multiplied by f of 8, which is going to be 4. So that means h prime of 8 is going to equal negative 6 plus 20, which is going to equal 14.